There's been another victim in Apple's war on cloud gaming, and this time it's the Shadow cloud gaming service. It's been unceremoniously pulled without reason from the App Store, so for those of you using it on an iPhone and an iPad, well, you're kind of out of luck at the moment. For those of you who aren't too sure what Shadow Cloud Gaming is, it's basically a company that allows users to rent out their own gaming rig, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be for gaming. You rent a relatively high-end PC, and you can stream that data to your iPhone, to your iPad, to something like a Mac, or even to another Windows device, and you get all the high-end hardware just streamed over your network connection. It's an incredibly popular service at the moment, and if you try to sign up and do a pre-order with it, you're looking at months-long wait times. And if we wanted to be able to use it currently in the UK, it's about October before we'd actually be able to get our hands on the service. It's that incredibly popular. And there's a lot of reasons why. Unlike services like Nvidia GeForce Now, any games that you own through the likes of Steam, through Epic, you have access to all of those because you install them onto the device and you remotely log in to access those. And the service is apparently really smooth. You can also stream to any of your devices in up to 4K, so if you have a 4K compatible screen, you're going to have a much bigger benefit over something like Nvidia GeForce Now. So there are a lot of reasons why this service has been so popular. Throw in the fact as well that it's not just about gaming, and you can access this high-end rig to be able to do anything else like video editing or just other things that you won't be able to do on stuff like an iPhone or an iPad or lower-end hardware. It does make a lot of sense, and it's definitely an interesting solution. However, when the developers went to put their apps through for their latest round of updates, unfortunately, Apple rejected the updates and also pulled the applications from the App Store. Apple hasn't provided any reasons, and the developers are trying to find out a bit more information as to why their application wasn't just rejected but also pulled from the App Store. So hopefully we'll find out a little bit more. You never know, it might be a mistake, but in this day and age where Apple are absolutely gunning against cloud gaming, I imagine that it's been done on purpose. An interesting point to note that this isn't the first time that Shadow's cloud gaming app has been pulled from the App Store. It happened March last year and then it got reinstated in May, so you never know, it might come back and it might just be a simple mistake. But last year they had to do some things to tweak their app where users wouldn't be able to necessarily buy games quite as easily as beforehand. So maybe they need to do some more tweaking there, or maybe it's just slipped through Apple's nets for the meantime. Now, the Shadow Cloud Gaming app has always been one of those ones that I've kind of looked at and wondered how on earth they're getting through it. But I suppose by renting out just a rig in general and then users can use it for whatever purpose they want, that's kind of how they circumvented the cloud gaming rules. But it looks like Apple have finally caught up with them. But it does draw into contrast some of the other remote desktop applications that are out there and how far Apple are willing to go before they start just killing all of those off. It's really difficult for like those remote access desktop applications to be able to stop users from doing any kind of cloud gaming or gaming in general. So where will Apple draw the line with this? Even right down to apps like Moonlight Gaming, which is very much like Steam Link. It allows you to access your PC and play your own games off that if you're on the same network. Once upon a time, if I was on a 4G connection or anywhere away from home, I used to be able to remote in and stream my games that way. But unfortunately, Apple pulled the plug on it and that's no longer part of the service. So Apple really are seeking out any service that allows you to do any form of cloud gaming at the moment and just killing off that part of the application or removing it completely. Now, there are a lot of frustrating things about this, and the first thing is that it's just not a consistent message. Apple still hasn't really provided a concrete reason that is consistent with the way they treat other applications and other form of media as to why it's not allowed on the service. Netflix, for example, are pushing out more and more interactive shows where you ultimately have control over what happens with the storyline, and that seems to be Apple's problem with cloud gaming, so it just doesn't gel well with me at the moment that they're doing this, and it seems really anti-consumer. The other thing that doesn't really make too much sense for me as well is it's going to either push consumers who absolutely want this service across onto something like Android, or in another lose situation, developers are going to start developing web apps that we are seeing. Nvidia have done it with their GeForce Now app and it works perfectly well, and now they've also done it with the Mac app as well. You can just play through a Chrome browser instead and it cuts Apple out completely. So Apple won't see any kind of the revenue or any of the subscription, and they'll have zero control of what people are doing with these web apps. And that seems to be what they're doing at the moment. They're just pushing these developers away to develop web apps, which gives Apple less control, which is probably a good thing in this case. But it doesn't make sense for Apple. They'll either lose some customers who go across to Android, or they'll lose customers from their ecosystem who start using web applications instead. Granted, there are going to be a lot of people out there who just can't be bothered with the faff, and they can't be bothered with trying to figure out, how does a web app work and where do I download it from? They just want this stuff from the App Store, and that's fine. And you've also got the loyalists who are going to stick with the device because they're not going to just leave the Apple ecosystem so they can do a bit of cloud gaming. But Apple are going to start losing customers, and it's definitely hurting their image, especially when it comes to gaming. So fingers crossed this over-aggression towards cloud gaming starts to let up just a little bit, because at some point in the future, in my opinion anyway, they are absolutely going to have to change tact on this and do something a little bit differently. Cloud gaming isn't going away. There are bigger companies getting behind this and more services coming out than ever before. So it's one of those things that's here to stay, and the more that the likes of Android and Google can capitalize on this by allowing these applications into their market, the worse that Apple are going to fare, especially when it comes to gamers. So only time will tell whether or not Apple changes their aggressive stance on this. But hopefully the Shadow Gaming app will eventually return to the iPhone and to the iPad. Like I said, it seems to be a massively popular service out there, and there will be a lot of disappointed users who now will have to use an older version of the application, which will eventually just become out of date and, in the words of the developers, just less reliable. So let us know your thoughts on the situation below. Are you frustrated by Apple's just constant aggression towards cloud gaming? Is it something that you'd love to be able to see natively running on your device rather than have to mess around with web applications, or you're just not bothered in general? Let us know in the comments, and hopefully you've enjoyed this content. If you have, hit the subscribe button and check back in next time for some more awesome content. In the meantime, stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye.